Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm glad you're here because there's a pretty important patch out for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and I wanted to walk you through what it actually changes, why it matters, and what to expect next in a way that doesn't sound like I'm reading a changelog off a forum. This update, v1.0.4, isn't just a couple of tiny tweaks. It addresses some of the most painful problems people have been running into, and that means a lot for folks who've been losing progress or getting stuck mid-quest. I'll keep this conversational and practical, so whether you're someone who jumps into the game every weekend or you've been avoiding it because of the bugs, you'll come away with a clear idea of what was fixed, what's still rough around the edges, and how to make the best of the current build. First off, the single biggest change everyone's celebrating is the save behavior when you exit to the main menu or quit the game. This seems obvious, but it makes a dramatic difference. Previously, a number of players reported losing hours of progress after quitting or exiting, and that's the kind of problem that can turn a great experience into a nightmare. With this patch, exiting to the main menu now reliably saves your progress. That doesn't just fix frustration in the short term, it changes how you can play the game. You can experiment with choices, explore risky areas, or call it a night without the constant dread of a corrupted or unsaved run. It's the kind of QOL change that underpins everything else in a narrative-heavy RPG. On the technical side, the team chased down a handful of crashing and memory issues. There were reports of the game freezing or hitting out of memory errors, sometimes in pretty specific setups like running with administrator privileges and when Windows usernames contain spaces. Those are the maddeningly specific bugs that can make troubleshooting nightmarish for support, so it's good to see fixes for them, especially for players running into game freezes or who had to apply awkward workarounds. The patch also includes general crash fixes, so if you had sudden CTDs during certain encounters or when loading particular areas, you should see improvements. A major class of fixes in this patch is quest and world blocking issues. That's the stuff that stops storylines dead. NPCs not spawning or missing key dialogue, enemies getting stuck out of bounds, broken interaction prompts, or characters getting lodged inside elevators or geometry. The team listed a long series of those fixes, and while I won't read them all off verbatim, the net effect is that many progression stoppers have been addressed. For anyone who had a save they couldn't progress from, those fixes can either get you moving again, or at least give you options to retry without losing time to glitches. I've seen players in community threads confirm that previously blocked side quests and even mainline missions are now completable after applying this update. There are also a bunch of smaller but meaningful quality of life and visual fixes, issues with level of detail popping, texture flicker, some hair and hairstyle visual bugs, and minor UI polish, like symbols and icons that were pixelating. These aren't game-breaking, but when you're immersed in a world-heavy RPG, small visual stumbles pull you out of the experience. The devs focused on smoothing those edges, which helps maintain immersion and keeps the atmosphere consistent. On the achievement front, one achievement that wasn't unlocking properly has been fixed. Achievements matter to a lot of players, either for completion collectors or for folks who like the small validation of seeing something checked off. And fixing that bug removes one more annoyance from the post-launch era. So what should you actually do with this information? If you're already running the game, make sure it installs the update. Most launchers should handle that automatically, but double check if you're one of those people who turns off automatic updates. If you've been holding off on the game because of save loss or quest blockers, this patch addresses the very issues that were driving that decision, so it's a reasonable time to consider jumping back in. If you hit problems post-patch, the devs are asking players to file bug reports. Include as much detail as you can. The exact place you were, what you were doing when the bug occurred, screenshots or videos if possible, and the most recent save files. That kind of data helps them reproduce and eliminate stubborn issues that slip through. Now about what's coming next. The devs have already signposted a plan for future updates. The next patch will bring some player-facing settings that have been requested a lot, things like a proper field of view slider and a motion blur toggle. Those sound small on paper, but they matter a lot for comfort and accessibility. Field of view adjustments are one of the most requested features in first-person or over-the-shoulder games because they change how much of the world you see and can dramatically reduce motion sickness for some players. Motion blur controls are another comfort setting that lets you tailor the visual presentation to preference and system performance. There's also talk of further improvements to how the game saves progress. Autosave behavior and a more robust save rotation system are things people have asked for repeatedly, and it sounds like the team is prioritizing that. Beyond that, the roadmap mentions a holiday update that aims to introduce custom difficulty and new ways to play through the storylines. Custom difficulty modes and New Game Plus style options can greatly increase replayability. The plan to allow playing only Fire's or only Fabienne's questlines in subsequent playthroughs is particularly interesting. It suggests the devs are thinking about letting players curate their experience and replay specific arcs without replaying the entire game. For a narrative with branching options and character-driven quests, that's a very welcome direction because it reduces the friction of exploring alternate choices or finishing content you missed. Community reaction is what you'd expect. Relief at the save on exit fix, cautious optimism about the roadmap, and ongoing requests for deeper save system improvements and broader stability fixes. Players are still flagging edge cases and rare bugs, and that's normal for a game of this scope. The important takeaway is that this patch demonstrates active response to high-impact problems rather than only addressing marginal issues. When studios prioritize fixes that prevent lost progress and remove progression blockers, it shows they're listening to where the pain points are. If you're someone who streams or records gameplay, this patch should help a lot. Losing hours of footage to a save issue or a crash is brutal, and the reliability improvements around exiting and crashes reduce the risk of losing recorded sessions. My recommendation for content creators is still to maintain a redundant save strategy. Keep manual saves at critical points, and consider recording or backing up save files externally if you're doing long-form content or walkthroughs. But the probability of catastrophic loss is much lower now than it was before this update. For players who are still cautious, here are a few practical troubleshooting tips that are safe and easy. After installing the patch, verify your game files through your launcher's verification tool. That will catch any corrupted or missing files and is a good baseline sanity check. If you were running the game with admin privileges because you previously encountered write permission issues, you can test whether that's still necessary. Part of this patch was explicitly targeting save path redirection problems that occurred under admin runs, and if you ever encounter a bug that seems to be related to your system setup, include those specifics in a bug report. OS version, whether you run with admin privileges, any overlays you use, and the last known working save. Those details can accelerate a fix. There are also some UX choices that the devs might iterate on based on player feedback. For instance, how autosaves are spaced, whether manual saves should be unlimited or managed by a rotation system, and what triggers an autosave. Those are design decisions that balance player freedom, technical constraints, and narrative consistency. Expect those systems to evolve over the next few patches as the devs collect usage patterns and bug reports from real-world play. I'd also encourage people to read the official patch notes and the dev posts if you want the granular list of fixes, because they often include very specific quest IDs or area names that can help you determine whether a fix applies to your playthrough. That level of detail is helpful if you've been stuck in a particular mission or region. At the same time, community threads and streaming clips are useful for real-world confirmation. People will post before and after experiences showing that a previously blocked sequence is now completable. And that kind of social proof is useful for deciding whether it's worth loading an older save or trying again. Finally, let's talk about expectations. This patch is meaningful, but it's not the end of the road. Complex open-world RPGs with heavy narrative scripting will always have edge case bugs that appear only under specific conditions. Fixing the high-impact items like save behavior and quest blockers significantly raises the baseline player experience, but the devs will need to continue iterating on stability, performance, and accessibility features.